Hey everybody, it is Monday, June 17th, and today's topic on Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia is professional resilience, a preview. Why is it a preview? Because I'm going to be on a panel at the ASAE 2019 annual conference in August on this very topic. And as a general reminder, Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia is brought to you by Rogue Tulips Consulting. We focus only on 501c organizations, and we also offer association management services. We're also a proud supporter of the 501c League. So we are here with Agnes, of course, my lovely co-host. So Agnes, would you like to say hello?
Cecilia, and thanks for that introduction. I am Agnes Amos Coleman. I'm a consultant with Rogue Tulip, and I'm also an author. Over to you, Cecilia.
Great. Thanks, Agnes. And Agnes is recently back from Nigeria, so we're so glad she's back stateside. So,
Delighted to be back.
Well, today we're going to take a few minutes. We try to keep our conversations to about 15 minutes because that's about how long a chat is. And today we're going to talk a little bit about professional resilience because I am going to be on a panel, as we mentioned in the intro, on this very topic with a couple of my colleagues, Eric Schoner of the Humane Society of the United States and Lydia Middleton of ASIS&T, which is a scientific and technology association. And our moderator will be KiKiL'Italien of Amplified Growth. And so while Agnes won't be at the conference, she also knows a lot about professional resilience. And so some of the things that we want to talk about at the session, which is why this is something of a preview, is what do you do when your career is not going the way you want? Or what do you do when it kind of blows up in your face? I think we've all had this happen to us. I don't know, Agnes, if that's ever happened to you, but it definitely did happen to me a couple of years ago, right? Because you were kind of there when it happened. So
I think you're not alone, Cecilia. A lot of us, it's not just you and I think everybody in our career lives have gone through some challenging times in our professional life, whether we care to admit it or not. So I'm very thankful that you're going to be speaking at this session because this is a must attend session. A lot of people are going to find that they're going to be opportuned to really find out how to really turn a tragic situation into an opportunity. So I think this is great. And I can't wait to listen to the session, whether live while you're participating in it or the recorded version of it when it comes out. So kudos to that.
oh, well, thank you. And I also want to give Eric and Lydia another shout out because they're sharing their story of what happened to them as well, and where you think you're making a good choice and you think everything's going along, and the next thing you know, it's not going along the way you think it's going to go. And that's tough. That's really hard, especially if you're somebody like me, who generally, if a career change happened, it was of my own doing. It was because I decided to go somewhere else, or a new opportunity came along, or I felt that I had done everything I could at an organization and it was time to move on to do something else. So it's hard when you work a long time and you give it everything you got, and then it's like, what? It's not going to work. And I think everybody who knows me knows how much I love pop culture and movies and TV series and things like that. And I was actually thinking about this watching The Spanish Princess on Stars. So first of all, if you haven't seen The Spanish Princess, it's based on the Philippa Gregory novel about Catherine of Aragon, who was Henry VIII's first wife. So she escaped a lot of the craziness later on with the beheadings and all that. But she was the daughter of Isabella of Castile. So Isabella was the Queen of Spain, but she was also a warrior queen. And so Catherine of Aragon was raised by a very strong woman. But as is shown in The Spanish Princess, her fortunes went up and down before she was actually allowed to marry Henry, who became Henry VIII. So one day she was up and the next day she was down. One day she was in a position where she had a little money in her pocket and the next day she had no money. People were working against her. Very few people were working for her at times. And she'd get up in the morning thinking, oh no, my mother is dead. And now my older sister who doesn't like me is now the Queen of Castile. And she's not going to pay my dowry. And then she finds out later, a few months later, oh, my sister went crazy and my dad took over. So now I'm the Spanish ambassador to the UK. So, so watching that is like she would get down and she would realize, I might be getting to the point where I might have to give up and go back to Spain. But then she says, I have one more card to play. And she plays this one more card. And she really was historically. Now you have to keep in mind Philippa Gregory novels changed history to tell a better story. She's writing a novel. But Catherine of Aragon actually was the first woman to be an ambassador to a European court of that era. So she was a person who had to have a lot of professional resilience because she was basically a professional princess, and she existed to cement a contract and a treaty with Great Britain. So even princesses have bad days, I guess is kind of my point here, but it is a good example of that need for the professional resilience and to go up and down, because when you have something happen, like, my fellow panelists, I also want to mention KiKiL'Italien will be our moderator. Again, I want to give Kiki another shout out. She is at Amplified Growth and also is the host of the long running association chat series, which is currently on Facebook. But what we're all going to be talking about, like, how do you handle it? You get the news, it's not what you thought it was going to be. Like, I think we've all had that problem. You take a job and the job's not what you thought it was going to be, or maybe the job doesn't work out, or they hire you for one job and you end up doing another job. I think that's happened to all of us at least once. I know that happened to me once, but it actually worked out for the better. I was hired in an association to do board relations and media relations, but then the person who was doing chapter relations went out on maternity leave, and so I started doing that, and it turned out, well, I really like this. I like doing chapter relations, and so I actually asked, can I keep doing this job? And my boss at the time said, well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to tell you you're going to keep doing that job anyway. So because you're doing it well and everybody's happy. And I was like, okay. So sometimes things work out well for you. But that's another thing, another example of you have to ask for what you want. And if you're not getting what you want, you have to ask for it. But when it comes to professional resilience, you have to keep in mind it doesn't matter what a great plan you put out there, or how hard you work sometimes. And a lot of times, I've been told by people who are CEOs at associations, a lot of times it doesn't matter how good a job you're doing. If somebody on the board decides they don't like you, you suddenly don't have a job anymore, because they say, no, we got to get a different CEO because I don't like this person. Now, that's going to be a whole other chat about dealing with boards who aren't quite sure what they should be doing. Because a lot of that, I think, is boards not understanding their true role in the organization, and they're doing the best they can. They're doing the best they can, but if you don't guide them and say, this is what you should be doing, this is your job. Your job as a board of director is different than my job as a staff person. You really have to remind people of that, educate them of that. But I was really surprised how many people told me that they had been a CEO and just told to go for whatever reason. The board decided something happened at the board or within that group at the board. It had nothing to do with you personally necessarily. And they just say, and I actually, like, somebody told me one time, you're not a real CEO unless you've been fired once. And I was just like, but is that really the best way to do things? I mean, just having this so precariously all the time. I mean, because anybody's job can go away. I mean,
Absolutely.
If you've watched any documentaries about the financial crisis of 2008, for example, I mean, a lot of people came to work in the morning and by lunchtime they were cleaning out their desk.
And fundamentally, Cecilia, I think the issue here is, regardless of whether you're a CEO or you're on Wall Street or in any industry for that matter, where there's that need for personal resilience, I see an opportunity here to manage the emotional toll, because it's how do you keep going and growing and doing and growing and doing it in the right way? Because you and I know that there's this emotional toll that goes with this kind of upheaval. And the key here is coming out on the other side and being a better person, to the point that I made earlier on, turning that, tragic situation into an opportunity. And that's really the key, because we're humans. We all have emotions. I don't care how strong we are. When we go through this kind of upheaval, we have to deal with it. And how do we then channel that emotional energy and making sure that, we're resilient in very difficult times?
Right. Now, that's a good point. And I think one of the problems is trying to maintain it long term.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in a senior level position or you're an older person, it takes you longer to find another job. If you are in a situation where your career path has ended at a certain point, and when I say end it, like, well, this job is not here anymore, I have to go find another one, that
Mm-hmm.
alters your career path. If you lose your job in the fall, I'm sorry, not in the fall, if you lose your job in the summer, summer's a very slow time to find a job. If it's around the holiday season, which I have just never understood why people let people go at the holiday season. It makes no sense to me. It's like, just wait till January 2nd. It'll, 2 weeks is not going to kill your budget. But, and just think about the nice humanity of that, of like, well, let's just wait till after the holidays. And, so people out there who plan these things, please either do it by October 15th or wait till January 2nd. But then that's a slower time of year to look. It's hard. And also it's like, how long, can you sustain it? Because you're right about managing the emotional toll. There's always an emotional toll. Mm-hmm. When things suddenly blow up in your face, if it implodes or explodes, or you're knocked off your path that you thought was a good, strong path for you. There's the initial shock. There's the 5 stages of grief part that we all go through. Mm-hmm. Everybody's much more supportive at the beginning than at the middle. So it's like, how do you keep yourself going? Because people will go on with their own lives. It's kind of like a death in the family. Mm-hmm. Everybody shows up for the wake. Everybody shows up for the funeral. They bring you food. They say, I'm sorry, let me know if I can help. And then they go back to their own lives. And then you're still here with that big hole in your life of this person has died. Well, it is similar when your career changes like that unexpectedly, because you have this big hole in your life, and you're still sitting there with that hole, but everybody in your network and your friends and your family have to go back to their lives. They have to go back to their way of dealing. So how do you keep yourself going? How do you keep your spirits up? Mm-hmm. So one of the things, and we have just a couple minutes left, but one of the things that you have to work at, and you're not going to be good at it every day, but one of the things you have to work at is not brooding about your job situation. And that's very difficult to do, because you start to worry, your savings account starts to run down. You're worried about money coming in. Am I going to pay the mortgage? Can I feed my dogs? Can I send my kids to school? There's a lot of different things you have to worry about that money helps with. But sometimes just don't look. I mean, take a day and do something else. Don't focus on the job search. Don't send out resumes on Monday or Friday. Send them out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Don't do networking meetings on Monday or Friday. Again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because Monday's the beginning of the week and everybody's getting back into it after the weekend, and Friday everybody's looking forward to the weekend. And that's why it's better, keep Monday and Friday for days for you to do stuff you need to do, like your laundry, or go to the grocery store, or just do something fun like go to the park. And then look through the job ads maybe on Monday, so that you know who you're going to apply to on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And I'd also like to add to that I think this is an opportunity to work on one's self-esteem, because that's so important. If you're going to keep that momentum going after everybody's gone home, you need to work on your self-esteem. You need to recognize that it isn't you, it isn't something you've done. And if it's something you've done, it's an opportunity to look at how you could do better next time. So foundationally, if one can keep one's self-esteem in check and working on that, I think it would make it a lot easier to handle when everybody's gone home and the curtains are drawn and it's you and you and you alone. So I think that for me, it's a very important point that I wanted to make.
And that's a good one, because the way you keep your self-esteem up is take as much time making a list of what's right with you as what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure you write down or make a list in your head. I'm a list maker of all kinds, so I have all kinds of lists all over the place, but make a list of the things that you are proud of that you've done. Keep helping other people, because you never know when you will be helped. So that's another way to keep your self-esteem up. Try to relax a little bit. This is hard.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard when you're in the job search. Just trying to relax a little bit about it. And, it's hard to wait. It's hard to say, especially if you have a very long job search. Like, I know people have been out of jobs for 2 years and they are still searching. I have a good friend who was out of a job for over 2 years before she found one, and it was a job she didn't like, but she took it because she didn't have a job for 2 years. And so sometimes you gotta do what you need to do, because it doesn't. We're going a little over today, but taking a job you don't like so that you have money to put food on your table does not mean you're doing that job the rest of your life. But the thing is, it makes it easier for you to find that job you like better or is a better fit, because it's difficult to get hired for a job if you're unemployed. And that's something else we're going to talk about at our session in August. So we'd better wrap it up because we're already at like the 16-minute mark today. But as always, thank my good friend Agnes, who's also my co-host and consults with me at Rogue Tulips, and we are the core consultants there. So check out our website, roguetulips.com. And if you are at ASAE Annual in August, we will be in lovely Columbus, Ohio. And the session will be on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Come live. I don't know if it's going to be recorded, because I don't know if ASA does that anymore, to be honest. So we'll find out. If it is recorded, we'll share it, or if we ask somebody to record it, we'll share it. But it's about an hour session, and it's right before the evening reception, so it'll be a great way to kick off your evening. So come learn about professional resilience, and then you can have a drink on ASAE. So hope to see y'all in Columbus, and hope y'all enjoyed our conversation today. And like Agnes and I always say, take 15 minutes and talk to somebody, because you just might learn something. So thanks.